It's shiny. It's awesome. It's cool. It's a piece of hardware that I can give for my baby boy.
Porque eu não comi nada antes.
You know,
Absolutely.
Hold on, I'm talking, brother. 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 Hold on, I'm talking, brother.
Hello and welcome back to Hold On, I'm Talking, Brother. My name is Joe Greenwood and you are listening to our UFC Fight Night Walker vs. Hill review and a preview of Makhachev vs. Green Fight Night coming up on Saturday. Tom, can you believe the amount of fights we get to talk about tonight? Tom, how are you?
Joe, I'm great. You got me laughing already about that intro. That's one hell of a hook for people to buy into right there.
Yeah, it's really wow. Can it get any sexier than a fight night
with a review?
With a review of a main event that was actually a co-main event, and a fight night with a last-minute replacement in the main event. Listeners, don't get hard too quick. This is going to be a good old slop fest between me and Tom. But Tom, how are you, first of all?
Yeah, Joe, keeping well here. I'm back at the grindstone. The pod isn't quite sustaining me, so I do need to work outside of these hours. However, today, my work was suspended due to weather. Big storm rolling in. Roads closed.
Yes, same at my job as well. That happened on Friday and possibly tomorrow as well. Cannot wait to turn people away from the good old railway and say you should not travel. Anyway, I've revealed way too much about myself just now. Let's get into this fight night, Tom. I don't know why I'm talking like this, but Jamahal Hill versus Johnny Walker in the main event, light heavyweight. Two men going in clearly opposite directions, one to the canvas and the other into Dana White's heart. Jamahal Hill knocks out Johnny Walker in the most comical of reactions possible. Johnny Walker, a man who defies physics even in defeat.
Wow.
Tom, what did you make of this? This was mad.
I think you summed it up pretty well there, Joe. I mean, Johnny, he's a cartoonish movement. Everything's so exaggerated and over the top all the time, and he's outdone himself with that fall. So to put it into words, Joe, crazy, timber, sleep.
Yeah, that was insane. And okay, let's give the credit first. Jamahal Hill, for the 2 minutes and 40 seconds of this fight before the knockout, was fighting southpaw. Realised it wasn't working for him, so switched to orthodox, and then within 5 seconds landed a monstrous shot to the top of Walker's head.
Yeah.
It was a really good tactical switch.
Great work from Hill, and exactly what you would expect from a man who does have some pretty good hands up there at light heavyweight. Moves a little bit differently, and in this case, switched stances, stepped off that centre line, slightly out of the way of Johnny Walker's jab, and just landed that right over the top. Very nice work. The sweet science at its best.
It was really quite lovely, and also having previously that evening watched the Amir Khan Kelbrook slop fest, it was nice to see something that wasn't as totally disgusting as that. This was it was really quite lovely work from Hill, and it was nice to see a guy on the come up. This is nice to see a guy recover from a defeat to Paul Craig, which was a weirdly nasty loss where you had the arm issue, where the arm, it dislocated, didn't it? But immediately popped back in. Clearly had a bit of an issue with Craig on the ground. Again, no disrespect meant in that way whatsoever. And then comes back with 2 hellacious finishes after that. All within the space of about 3 months as well.
Yeah, that's right.
Over Jimmy Crute and Johnny Walker.
Crute back at the beginning of December, that was. And that was another guy who we thought was on the come up, but has since been turned away after that loss to Hill.
Yeah, Crute's getting very serious knee surgery, I should say, as well. So he's going to be out for the rest of the year, sadly. Because Jimmy Crute's a fighter I quite like watching, personally. I think he's got, a bit of a rough and tumble style, which I think is always appreciated, particularly on this pod. But Jamahal Hill, really on the come up here. I'm so happy that he's turned that around, because a loss to Paul Craig like that could have been not damning per se, but it could have been like exposing to a certain extent, and instead he's managed to just put 2 people away in emphatic fashion.
Sorry, Joe, I didn't mean to jump and cut you off there, but I was just going to, in the man's own words, it's time to stop doubting and start believing. Are you ready?
I'm ready. I'm in on this train. I like Jamahal Hill. I like his attitude. I like his style. And I like the fact that he's a finisher as well. He
does cut an interesting character there at light heavyweight, and especially here, when you look at him lined up next to Johnny Walker, truly their kind of stature, build, muscle definition, it's a mismatch.
Yeah, it really is. Jamahal Hill's kind of got all this weird. I don't mean to insult him. The man's an athlete here, but he's got a unique
slender man
frame.
Slender man feel.
Yeah, he's very, very slender. And then Johnny Walker, who is 6'7", he's taller than me, and I am a tall man, as Tom can attest. Taller than me, is ripped, and just cannot put it together whatsoever. We'll get to Johnny Walker in a second, but Jamahal Hill, we'd like to do this on a review episode, Tom. But what do you want to see from him next? I mean, let's just say it is a delectable buffet of options for him at light heavyweight, and I cannot wait to see what he does.
Absolutely. Well, of course, it's a striker's kind of showdown there in the top 10, so it's easy to keep him away from the likes of, really, the only other ground specialist in there outside of Paul Craig, which would be the current champ, Glover Teixeira. I'm saying
Uncle Glover. Oh God, it really warms my heart to know he's the light heavyweight.
Any excuse to just drop that in there on the pod. But the thing is, outside of Glover, you pick out anyone in the top 10 there, and you can have a nice, interesting matchup. Likely, most of it taking place on the feet. If I'm Hill's manager, I think I'm lobbying for someone like Özdemir, or welcome maybe Paulo Costa into the division.
Yeah, I'm similar. I think Anthony Smith might be a good favourable one. 2 long, rangy strikers who are willing to sort of get into it. And also, Anthony Smith does have a little bit of an underrated ground game as well. And could test him. Smith. Do you think it might be a step too far?
I do think Smith would be looking to mix it up there on the ground and introduce his kind of wider game. And given the vulnerability we saw for Jamal.
You're struggling. Jamahal. Is it Jamahal Hill or is it Jamahal Hill?
I don't think we could.
It's spelled
We
Jamahal.
can't pull it off, Joe. This is the problem.
Jamal.
We need a more diverse voice in here.
Yeah. Two crack-ass motherfuckers trying to pronounce that name is not going to go well.
I think Smith might be a reach. I do. If I'm picking a matchup for him, I'm going for someone like Özdemir. Actually, I quite like that.
Uzdemir's a good show. Our boy Volkan Özdemir, we're both big fans.
Thiago Santos.
Thiago Santos has Ankalaev next, which is my god, Ankalaev future champion potentially. I think could be a rough night for Thiago there. Maybe Dominic Reyes. Was that too far as well?
I mean, Reyes on a 3-fight slide now.
I know, but I'm always just so excited to push these guys. Like, let's see what... You know what? I actually agree. I think Paulo Costa would be a good one. At light heavyweight, say to Costa, you got 1 fight left. You're not a fucking middleweight. You're a light heavyweight. You can fight this Jamahal Hill. Sign a new contract after that if you want. Or, the PFL, Bellator's...
Who you got, Joe? Costa versus Hill?
Hill.
Yeah, me too.
Every day.
Me too.
Yeah. Right. Should we talk about Johnny Walker?
I think we have to.
Do you remember when Johnny Walker was supposed to beat Jon Jones? Do you remember when that was supposed to happen?
That is crazy. And you know what? What's crazy, Joe? I was ready to watch that fight. I was asking those questions. Not.
Yeah, I
didn't ever tip I didn't ever tip over the. I went up on the train, but I didn't cascade off into that kind of.
It's not like.
Sorry.
It's not like me and you with who are guys that we're fully on board with from the. I mean, all right, now we're talking about Hamzat. Do you know what I mean? Where it's a guy who's just incredible, or for me now, Savkat Rakhmonov is a guy who I'm just I've rewatched all of his fights, and I'm just I'm so on board with this guy. Johnny Walker, I was never quite fully on board with him. And then when he found out that there are levels to this game, as Corey Anderson pointed out to him, it's been a slippery slope.
Let me just lay this down. So you mentioned Corey Anderson there. That was a brutal TKO. Follows that up with a kind of non-event against Krylov, which he lost a decision in.
That was a really boring non-performance,
which Krylov does seem to pull out of a few people. Went on, had a bit of resurgence against Ryan Spann, who, I'm sorry, he's an absolute mark. Not much.
You're a jabroni and you're a mark.
You've got it there, Joe. I don't know what... it kills me every promo I see with that guy. And then...
By the way, do you remember that fight? The Spann-Walker fight? Spann rocked him badly twice, and then Spann's corner tried to claim it was shots to the back of the head when he was elbowing him to the ear. And it's just like, all right, pal. Like, I know you're trying to protect your boy, but he ain't much, is he?
Well, it was a brief resurgence for him there against Spann, and just reminding us, that there is some fun in him. But then Thiago Santos, kind of, just easy loss. And then this KO here, so that's lost four of his last five since that. Ready to fight Jon Jones, peak hype.
Yeah, and he had a bit of a weird run as well because he lost to Corey Anderson, then he went to TriStar, which is George St. Pierre's old gym, and trained under Faraz Sahabi for Krylov and Spann, and that didn't go well. And then he's gone to SBG Ireland, which is... Oh, no, SBG Ireland were in for the Spann fight, I should say. From there, which is John Kavanagh, Conor McGregor's coach, and whatever else. And literally all they've seemed to have done is incorporated feints into his game. And it's just like, he's just a fighter who just doesn't need that. I think he's just a guy who needs to go out there with utmost confidence and just start throwing weird shit, basically, in the hope that it's going to land, because that's what he is. He's basically a meme fighter, I think. Am I out of line for saying that, Tom? I feel like
I don't think so, Joe. I don't think so. I don't think that, whilst it is disparaging, and I don't think he'll be changing his nickname anytime soon.
To Johnny the Walking Meme Walker, yeah.
That does sum up his kind of style quite accurately. And I think you know what it is, Joe. You look back over his record before coming into the UFC. He had taken a few knockout losses, and I think really, it's just a matter of time before he gets caught again. He's on a bad run now. The question really is he a top 15 guy?
Oh,
see, Joe, I think he is. I think he is.
You mean the 10 to 15 range?
Yeah.
Okay. What is to you the ideal place for a Johnny Walker fight? Now, can I give you mine? First fight on the main card of a pay-per-view. Of Johnny Walker versus fucking Alonzo Menefield, William Knight.
See, now.
Let's get some slot, brother. Eon.
Joe, I've got to stop you now.
Let's get some slot.
I've got to stop you there.
Let's
now you're being disparaging. That's too much. If you're going to put him in there with the likes of,
you don't want to see him versus Kutalaba?
I mean, yes, I do. But I do have him as a cut above those guys. I think Johnny does pose a bigger threat than they do, and I think Johnny could upset some people.
Can we talk about the actual knockout itself? That again, was that the funniest knockout you've ever seen? He sprung out of it he did the classic praise the Lord, but in the air, instead of on the ground. Do you remember when Rakic knocked out Manoa? He hit that high kick on Manoa, and Manoa landed. He did the arms, flying in the air, praise the Lord, and then that last shot afterwards was disgusting. I don't know. I mean, I feel like Johnny Walker might potentially get cut after this. To be honest, I think it might be one of those situations. What do you think? Or do you think Dana just likes him and just likes having something as funny as him?
I do think that, yes, but I also think let's be real. Light heavyweight is it's a little bit thin.
It's a bitty division.
Yeah. And
like at the top, let's go through the top guys. You got Glover as a champion. You got Blachowicz. You got Prochazka. You got Rakic. Dominic Reyes, would you say? Even though the 3-fight losing skids, you got this weird kind of like top, middle, and then everyone else, haven't you? And you've got to try and. I mean, I think Ankalaev is destined for the top. Uzdemir, Uzdemir Walker, I would watch the shit.
Yeah,
out of
I was just thinking that
him.
makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense. But I mean, you can't say that Walker's earned a fight like that. Uzdemir still ranked, I think, in the top 10, just about.
Yeah, for sure. I would. Yeah, I don't really know what's next for Walker. I mean, take some time off really and recover, and maybe find a good coach. I don't know. Right. Should we talk about the rest of this card? Kyle Dorcas submits Jamie Pickett in the co-main event with a Darce choke at the very last second of round 1. Just seemed to like muscle his way into it more than anything else. I think Dorcas was very impressive in this fight, personally. Just spamming takedowns a little bit, but you know.
Well, I mean, it was working. It was working, and prior to the fight, he was being very much billed as a striker, and that's we have seen that from him. So I thought, it was good that he was able to shoot in and really expose Jamie Pickett.
It was a bit of a weird one as well for me. I was almost a little bit disappointed. Do you know what the thing is that I'm talking about the post-fight thing now, of calling out Tony Ferguson as the Darce Knight thing. I just felt a bit weird, the optics of a middleweight who couldn't even really make middleweight for this fight, calling out a lightweight. It was a bit weird, wasn't it?
That's a strange one. Yeah, that's a strange one. He didn't do it with much gusto either.
Yeah, I think he felt a bit uncomfortable doing it.
Yeah, some marketing man in his ear,
Yeah. What would you like to see next for Dorcas? Just some other guy at middleweight, maybe a Julian Marquez.
What about Kevin Holland rematch?
Holland's gone down to welterweight.
I see.
He's fighting Cowboy Oliveira on the Covington Masvidal card.
Oof. On the cover is that on the main card?
It's on the main
I won't
card.
say any more then, Joe.
Yes, indeed. I cannot wait.
I almost gave the game up there.
I thought Dorcas looked quite good personally. I'd like to see him fight someone at middleweight who's, maybe like a Roman Dolidze, maybe, or a Julian Marquez, as I said. That might be quite a good fight personally.
Yep, onwards and upwards.
Onwards and upwards. That's what I like to hear here. Parker Porter defeats Alan Bordeaux. Can I ask, Tom, how did you score this fight?
Joe, I couldn't do it. I just couldn't. Joe,
you didn't watch it?
I watched moments, and
it was terrible.
I just couldn't do it.
It was a terrible fight. It was.
We here on Hold On, Talking Brother, we're serious MMA pundits, and I cannot be asked to watch the likes of Parker Porter and Bordeaux. No,
Alan Bordeaux. It was not. It was not a good fight. Porter won that quite clearly. Jim Miller, the debut ruiner himself, defeating Nicholas Motta. Let's give it up to my man Jim Miller, the dirty dog of the lightweight division. Should this fight have been stopped maybe a minute or two earlier? I don't know. I was kind of that.
The ref didn't agree with you there, Joe.
It could have been a standing TKO.
It was a beautiful shot. Let's give credit to Miller for that.
Yeah.
He had held that right hook back and certainly caught your man Motta out with it. What I particularly loved in this fight was Felder's summary of Miller. The two things that come to mind. Did you catch this bit when you think of Jim Miller?
No, I don't remember.
Gunpowder and homemade beer.
Yes, oh yeah.
I thought that was a great bit of commentary from Felder.
Yeah, I honestly agreed as well. Oh, Felder though. Should we talk about the main event? Do you remember his line?
No.
About Johnny Walker. He basically they were watching the replay of Hill knocking out Walker. And he went like, Sweet dreams, Johnny. Which is a nasty line by you, brother. Let's just get that out there.
Nasty line by you.
Yeah, that was horrendous thing to say, but Felder was on good form this night. Right, now let's talk about the real main event here. Joaquin the Buckley does it for his boys at Hold On, I'm Talking, Brother. Gets the win against Abdul Razak Al Hassan. What do we say about anything more than the buck, but give him a fucking...
Get him on the mic, that is for sure. He had more to give there. More to give.
Yeah.
Enjoyed it nonetheless. I mean, it was a fun fight, Joe. It was a fun fight.
I enjoyed this fight greatly.
Can I just ask, how did you score it?
2-1 Buck.
First 2 rounds, 10-9, and dropped off a cliff in,
Yeah.
in the third.
What was that?
I mean, it got sloppy there in the third. That was two heavyweight sluggers. That was Kimbo Slice and Dada 3000 for a couple of minutes there in the third round.
Yeah, that was. I've had. Well, actually, I almost said something really disgusting that night, which I'm not going to. But it was. Fucking hell, that was really dropped off a cliff in terms of quality very quickly, and I gotta say, I hope Buckley hits the treadmill a bit more.
Yeah, he disappeared, and
although I don't want him to lose those juicy pecs of his, to say the least.
don't want to lose that pop.
No.
Yeah, I mean, to get outworked in the third round by Abdul Razak Al Hassan, that is wow. That's I don't even know what you do with that. That's really.
Let's talk about Buckley just quickly. I think he's really showing a bit of promise here, personally. I don't think he's a middleweight. Like, he should really think about cutting to welterweight. He's weighing in at 183. Apparently his walk-around weight is like 186. So, I mean, he must be able to make welterweight now. And if he can blow up to this weight as a welterweight, I think he'd be able to do some damage down there, man. Don't you think?
There's a couple of too many wrestlers down there, Joe.
Well, don't you think Buckley's offensive wrestling was so impressive in this fight? I thought so, personally. I thought we're looking at this is a man who could unlock Adesanya.
Yeah, I think you're really getting there in the first round and the second round. It was interesting to see him mix that in. Certainly caught me off guard. I wasn't really able to get off any ground and pound, but he was landing those takedowns, and then in the second round, some trips as well for
lovely.
Buck.
Yeah, some Derek Lewis-like trips. It was really quite something. And some neat hands. He clearly did not like Al Hassan touching him at any point, though. That was Al Hassan has got some absolute fire in those hands, and I can't wait to watch him again. But yeah, really chuffed for Buckley with this. He's turned it around quite nicely after having a couple little rough spots. First off with his first fight, I think, which was with Kevin Holland, and then he has the DeChirico fight, wasn't it?
Yeah, both knockout losses.
Yeah. So I'm happy. Yeah, I'm happy. Buckley's turned it round. What do we want next for him?
Why is he not fighting your man who he's got this beef with? Why is it? Yeah,
James Krause.
Why is that not happening, Joe?
James Krause. You know what? I would love that, and I like James Krause as well. This is not me shitting on James Krause here, but first off, that fire promo, which I will not drop this time, but I will on another episode just for the fuck of it. Yeah, I would love to see that. I think James Krause might have retired though. I think he's just a coach now, which is a shame because I enjoy watching him personally. I like James Krause. He's a good fighter. Yeah, I don't know. It just doesn't seem to be happening, sadly. It seemed obvious after that promo. I mean, how can you not be fired up for that fight after Buckley saying how much he wants to hurt him? I mean, Christ. But what do we want next for him? I mean, do you want to give him some middleweight slop for him to knock out? You know, an Eric Anders or Ian Heinisch? I love Ian Heinisch. That's a beautiful back, but brother, you ain't making it in the UFC with that back.
There's plenty of these fellas at middleweight you could match him up with. What about Phil Hawes?
Phil Hawes is a good shout. He's not fighting anyone. I'd like that. Phil Hawes. Oh, that's a juicy swinger. That is an absolute juicy swanger of a fight. By the way, I was just going through the upcoming fights. I was thinking, what about Chris Curtis? Chris Curtis. He's got a fight booked. He is fighting Dricus Duplessis. Wow. I am looking forward to the fight. I'm delighted Chris Curtis, by the way. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. Looking forward to that indeed. Right. Tom, should we just... I'd like to very briefly, touch on this. The fallout of Adesanya versus Whitaker 2. I find that people are extremely desperate to make this a win for Whitaker since this happened. I've seen people saying adamantly that he won rounds 2, 4, and 5. I've even seen some claiming he won 3, 4, and 5 over Adesanya, which is just ludicrous. Do you think that this is just an example of MMA fandom, like them turning against Adesanya because maybe he's, not finishing people now and knows when to put his foot on the gas and when to ease off and cruise through fights? Or do you think this is genuinely people thinking Whitaker won this fight?
I mean, it's a tricky one with Adesanya because, like, his persona when he came in maybe was, it was hard to get on board maybe with his ego for some people. But then you also look at that and you think about his, his background. You can't take that away, and then you wonder, why people are really looking at his ego and picking him out for criticism in the way they did. And the thing is, it's really channeled here when you've got a guy like Rob Whitaker, who's so easy to like.
The charming family man, basically. He's got the Volkanovski sort of personality where it's just like just a nice, normal guy who just happens to be one of the best fighters in the world.
He's not quite down the pub geezer like Volkanovski, but he's he's I think he's got a gaming stream, has he not?
To be honest, now I'm thinking about going to the pub with Volkanovski and how much I would like to do that.
He'd put you away, Joe.
I think he would. Those under the table any
those
day.
2 desperados you had just now.
All rosy cheeks after that.
That's it.
Anyway, sorry, go on, Tom.
No, I mean, just I think it's just that, really, Joe. There's no validity to looking at that fight again.
Yeah, I agree. I also find it slightly annoying as well, and this is a weird cultural MMA thing that's happening where good fighter, Robert Whitaker, great fighter, in fact, I should say, loses a title fight to the same guy twice. Oh, he should go down to welterweight now. No, he shouldn't go down to welterweight. Stay at middleweight. Like, the guy's not a welterweight. His welterweight record was not that good. He goes up to middleweight and suddenly it all clicks. Maybe it's the fact he's actually a middleweight. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's like, just don't try and force this guy into, like, a jigsaw piece that doesn't fit, basically, I think.
There's certainly no debate about his record at welterweight versus record at middleweight. But
for sure.
I don't think you would argue that he has come on a long way since then. He's a much better fighter.
Oh, for sure.
I mean,
would you say a welterweight move's a good idea? That's 15 pounds he'd have to cut. That's pretty big. And I know he's not a huge middleweight.
It's another one of these classics ones, Joe. We need a 155 and we need 165. We need it.
Yeah. What do you mean? Like 165, 175, 185?
Yeah.
So where would Whitaker go then? Stay at 185?
I think he would come down to 175 in that scenario.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah. Sorry. So, like, the attention is there.
Yeah.
Because
okay, I see what you're saying.
You're right. 15 pounds is a long way. It is a long way, but in that scenario,
it's a long way both ways as well. When they're talking about Usman should move up as well, it's just like, I don't think he should really. I think he's, as you say, a 175.
That's just it.
Yeah.
And Whitaker. I mean, would you argue that he's like at the size of a middleweight? Would you? Like, obviously his record.
I'd say
you can't say anything about that.
But I think he's defeated legitimate middleweights though. He defeated Jacare.
Yeah, certainly has.
Brunson. Romero,
it's just whether he's giving up a little bit more than he needs to. I mean, you mentioned the likes of Romero or Till. Cannonier.
Yeah,
These are big. These are bigger men.
Cannonier. Yeah, and Whitaker schooled some of them. I mean, the second Romero fight is one that we've debated many a time, but the first one I think is undoubtedly a Whitaker win.
I'm just saying, is he leaving a little bit on the table there? You know, is he like? There's no question. There's no question that he's proved his mettle. It's just his optimum weight, his peak performance relative to the other guys in this division. It is somewhere between those two, between welterweight and middleweight.
Most likely, yeah. I mean, I think it's just the case that people often think if you cut down to the absolute bone of what you're able to get to and able to get there comfortably and then fly back up in weight, then that's the best thing to do. But maybe that's not the case for Whitaker, because you'd have to put so much more into his diet, so much more into cutting, and take away from training the actual skills to win these fights. Maybe that's what the original case of being him at welterweight. Maybe if he went down now, he'd maybe be able to dominate. You know, maybe he is the guy to beat Usman.
I mean, these things are all quite exciting. These, Joe,
they are
saying these
exciting,
sweet words
sure.
now, and you're making it hard for me to agree with you. I'm not saying I think the guy should move to welterweight. I don't think that's like an out for him or a solution. And
agreed.
But that does sound. It does sound interesting. There was some nice interesting questions
for sure.
there.
For sure. Right, should we talk about very quickly this fight night that's coming up on Saturday? We've got Bobby Green versus Islam Makhachev. Bobby Green stepping in on less than 2 weeks' notice to replace Beneil Dariush, who has a broken tibia and was still tempted to fight Makhachev. That was an insane thing to even think about doing. Is there a way for Bobby Green to win this fight?
Well, we just we're fresh off the back of doing some nice matchmaking for Bobby the King Green, and
I think we agreed on Brad Riddell.
We certainly did not agree on Islam Makhachev in 2 weeks' notice.
No, it did
and
not.
Joe, I think that we both know there's a reason why we didn't pick that fight for him. Because you mentioned briefly to me when we were discussing this, there could be a question there, and I'm just not having it, Joe.
No, the question I was trying to raise any sort of what are the potential ways for Green to win, and it's like Green's original base for combat sports was wrestling. He does have incredibly low hands. Maybe he'd be able to land on Makhachev because he's not used to that sort of thing. Makhachev striking is not the best. However, I think that when Makhachev gets it to the ground, I just don't think it would go well for Bobby.
I feel like this is your man. His name escapes me. No, sorry. When Khabib got caught,
Pointer.
That also happened.
Yeah,
and it just hung out in the annals for years to come. I feel like you're saying maybe that kind of moment could happen here.
I think it could happen.
I'm just not having that, Joe. I'm putting my reputation on the line. All right, I'm hanging it all out there. Iaquinta is finished, and that's it. That's final. Yes. Iaquinta is not coming back. I've said it. No. What I am trying to say, Joe. Sorry, I have not had two desperados. Just to clear any confusion up. What I'm trying to say is that I just. I'm opening myself to ridicule in the event that something happens. I just see no way that Makhachev, who's very cautious, doesn't open himself up to the same risk like Khabib on the feet. I don't see how, especially after he's had that knockout loss. Don't forget. I just don't think he'll let that happen. I think he'll just smother Green and run through him. Unfortunately,
I'm inclined to agree as well, and I think also people forgetting this is in the Apex as well. It's a smaller cage. This is lined up for Makhachev.
2 weeks' notice, Joe.
Yeah, it's not ideal for Green. It's not even at lightweight. It's a catchweight fight, which weirdly is 160. So I don't know where that extra £5 can't be cut, but fine. If you can't cut it, that's not a big deal. I just don't want Makhachev to get a title shot off the back of this.
Yeah, that's that.
Can you give him a title shot off the back if he beats Bobby Green?
Just because of the numbers behind him, Joe, I think he's got to be in the picture. I think he's got to be.
I think number one contenders fight. And that's what the Dariush fight was. It was a number one contenders fight. It was the perfect line Bobby Green is not a number one contender. If Bobby Green wins this fight, should he get a title shot? Fuck no.
If Bobby Green wins this fight, hell yeah. Hell yeah. Hell yeah, get him in there. 2 more weeks.
Actually, you know what? I take that back. Yeah. You know what? Yeah, fair enough. But I don't know, man. I feel a bit weird about it.
Anyway, sorry, you teased me there. Can you imagine Bobby Green starches Makhachev? I
honestly think I might cry tears of joy.
What a moment!
And that's no offense to Makhachev. It's just Bobby Green is just that guy who is just such a great guy, mate. Bobby Green, Charles Oliveira. Could you imagine if that happened?
Wild. That's wild, but I'm in.
It could happen, and that's what we're hoping for in a weird way. I know we kind of want Makhachev to win because it's like, all right, that's the natural order of things, but bro, MMA ain't about the natural order of things. This is about Kevin Randleman knocking out Crow Cop, okay? This is about Michael Bisping knocking out Luke Rockhold, okay? This is about fucking... Who else? Give me another one. Fucking... I don't know, whoever. But whatever. I'm saying Bobby Green, if he knocks out Makhachev... I don't know, man. I don't know. Anyway, let me just quickly go through this fight card. I'm going to go up from what I think is the opening of the main card. Pick a name, Tom. Gregory Rodriguez versus Armand Petrosian at 185. Give me a...
The guy that's got armor in his name. He wins that fight by decision.
He doesn't have an Abraham Lincoln beard, and I don't think he has an animal hat. So that's...
I've aired.
Now, fair enough. All right. But the next fight after that, the fight that we're very excited about, Arman Tsarukyan versus Joel Alvarez.
Yeah.
Tsarukyan 17-2, Alvarez 19-2. I'm really hyped.
Tasty matchup.
Tasty indeed.
People are very, very hot on Tsarukyan, and rightly so. But Alvarez has built quite the run himself and looked pretty impressive. Maybe sleeping on him a little bit. And I'm also in that camp, so I'm going to be picking Tsarukyan.
Yeah, Alvarez, he beat Thiago Moises, Alexander Yakovlev, Joe Duffy. He lost in his debut in the UFC to
much like Tsarukyan.
But yeah, much like Tsarukyan, who, I mean, that Makhachev fight is incredible. Do you remember that one? And then he obviously went on a really good run. But just two guys that I think people are kind of avoiding at all costs. Yeah, Tsarukyan, I'm inclined to agree. Priscilla Cachoeira, fresh off of trying to gouge out Gillian Robertson's eye. Did you see that on the prelims of the last card? She lost. She was in a rear naked choke, and she literally tried to jam her fingers into Gillian Robertson's eye. It was dirty as fuck. She faces Ji Yeon Kim, a South Korean lightweight with a very strange record of 9 wins, 4 losses, and 2 draws, I believe. I don't know. Do you want to pick a name?
I mean, on this podcast, Joe, we're whiter than white, so Kim takes it. No, I don't mean like some of the white pride thing there, Joe. Easy now, fella.
No. Yeah, ease off on that. And then Misha Serkinov versus Wellington Turman. This is at middleweight. I thought Serkinov was a light
He was, but then Johnny Walker flying kneed him down a division.
Of course. Yeah, he has got a bit of a... Oh, God, he's got a terrible record. He lost to Jotko in his last fight. Oh, God, I can't pick this guy. I'm going to go Turman for this fight just for the fuck of it.
I'm having Serkinov.
Fair enough. Right, listeners, thank you for joining us on this...
That's the co-main.
That's the co-main, brother.
God.
Not Tsarukyan Alvarez. Yeah, that is not good. Is there anything on the prelims that's standing out? Alejandro Perez versus Jonathan Martinez at bantamweight. It's a bantamweight fight. It's probably going to be good. Right, listeners, thank you so much for joining us on this episode. We will be back next week to preview potentially the biggest pay-per-view of the year, Jorge Masvidal versus Colby Covington in the welterweight division. No belt on the line, just a fake grudge that they have worked together to work the fans into thinking they actually don't like each other. We will also be back that week to review the Bobby Green Makhachev fight, only very briefly, of course, because we know what's going to happen in that fight. But yeah, next week we'll be back for Covington Masvidal. Tom, just very quickly, question now: on a scale of 1 to 10, how hyped are you for that fight and pay-per-view in general? What is your groin saying? What is your heart saying? What is your gut saying?
It's bubbling away, Joe. It's picking up.
Oh wow!
Yeah, it's motion is happening down there. And I'm not going to specify in which place exactly, but I'm going to give it a 7 right now. A 7.
A 7
already.
I'm going to go for a gentleman's 6 personally. That's where I'm at for that card. Yeah, listeners, thank you for joining us on this episode. We will be back again next week to break that down. And thank you very much for joining us, Tom. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you, Joe.
And yeah. And as always, always a pleasure, never a chore. Indeed, listeners.